morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for October's edition of Health Bytes with Region 3. We're very pleased to welcome this month's speaker, Dr. Leo Lowe. Dr. Lowe is the Dean of College of the University Libraries and Learning Sciences at the University of New Mexico. His work focuses on developing AI competencies and training programs for library and higher education professionals. As the current president of the Association of College and Research Libraries, ACRL, Dr. Lowe has established a national task force to develop a set of AI competencies. He holds a doctorate degree in higher education management from the University of Pennsylvania and an MLIS from Florida State University. So in today's Health Bites, our speaker will be giving a presentation on enhancing AI interactions, leveraging the CLEAR framework for effective prompting. So thank you so much for being our speaker this morning, and I will turn it over to you, Dr. Lowe.
Well, thank you very much, Katie. Let me share my screen first. Okay. You should be able to see my slides. So thank you very much for having me here today. I'm really excited to talk to you about AI and also about prompting, which is one way to interact or communicate with generative AI, and especially large language models. And we'll go into a little bit of that to explain what that is too. But to begin, and thank you, Katie, for the introduction. Those are kind of my day jobs. And for the past 2 years, I've been really involved in learning more and researching AI and AI literacy and how we can learn this new technology. But a lot of people ask me, why are you so passionate about it? So I want to share a very, very quick personal story. So when I was about 10, 11 years old, I was in a science class in school, and I was very shy, and I never really, raised my hand and asked questions. But one time I decided to, summon up the courage to ask a question. But for some reason, maybe the teacher was in a bad mood. Maybe he didn't like me. He made me feel like that was a really stupid question, and a lot, my classmates laughed and all of that. So I was traumatized. So I never found out the answer to that question, and I was, a little bit afraid to speak in public or ask questions in class from that point on. Fast forward to 2022 when ChatGPT came out. I was just like everybody else. I was, playing with it, asking it all kinds of questions. And then I remember that incident. And I asked ChatGPT that question, and it explained to me in a textbook kind of way. And I could understand it because now I'm a grown-up. And then I asked it to explain it to me like a 10-year-old who liked Spider-Man. And it did in that way. And I got actually emotional. I wish I had that back then. And I want other people to have that, moving forward, because this kind of personalization is so powerful. It can save a lot of kids a lot of trauma, for if they are able to learn in the very customized kind of way. So that's kind of, at that point, I saw the potential, a lot of potential of generative AI in teaching, learning, education, and in many, many other things. So thank you for hearing my personal story. So today, here's the outline of what we're going to talk about. So we'll talk a little bit about AI and generative AI. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be a deep dive, but so that we're all on the same page. We know what that is. And also AI literacy. What is that? Right. And then I'll go into the CLEAR framework in AI communication, which is a framework that I came up with very early on an approach to prompting, to thinking about how we want to communicate and get the best effective output that we want from AI. And then I'll want to hear your questions, and hopefully you can share things that I can learn from you as well, how you're using AI. So every time I do these webinars or presentations, I always learn something from the audience. So looking forward to that. All right. So you have probably seen these. You are probably familiar with these for a long time now. They have been around for, I don't even know how long now. These are captchas. They test whether we are humans or not, right? But this is actually us, all of us, helping to train AI to do math, to recognize script or handwriting, to learn how to drive. So machine learning has been around for a long time, but AI really becomes the center of all attention when OpenAI released ChatGPT to the general public in November 2022. And all of a sudden, the world, not just the tech world, could see the amazing potential of this technology called generative AI, just like what I, discovered when I shared that story with you. So immediately, people can, you have seen all these headlines. It's disrupting a lot of industries, especially education, because it can pass exams. Students can use it to do homework. And so it's really powerful. People are saying, oh my God, this is, going to be so transformative. And but at the same time, people recognize that there are a lot of issues with it. And, obviously copyright. Who knows where these companies are getting their data from? It's very opaque. It's not very transparent. And if we don't know what kind of training data they have, we don't know what kind of biases the models have. And also because of the way it works, it's generative AI, it generates things. It doesn't really understand a lot of the things. So even when it doesn't know, so-called quote unquote know something, it still generates. So we call that hallucinations. It makes up things. We realized that very early on, because in my libraries, I think right after it came out, like a couple of months after it came, within the first 2 months, we got so many students coming into the libraries asking for librarians to help them find journals or books that did not exist, right? Because they were using ChatGPT to find resources for them. Now, those could have been teachable moments, but we were not ready to teach those students because we didn't know. And that's why we need to, be ahead and think about learning how to use AI so that we can teach our users how to use it responsibly, intelligently. Now, first question for the audience, if we can put up the poll, and I want to ask you, have you tried ChatGPT? Just, answer the poll there. Second. I'll give it like 20 seconds, 30 seconds or so. So a lot of yeses. Well, 91%. Okay, it looks like it's well. Okay, yeah. So roughly, about 90% of you have tried ChatGPT, 10% of you have not. So most people have tried it by now. If you have not, you're the 10%. I encourage you just to try it. It's free. Just play with it a little bit, and you'll be quite amazed. And also, you'll be you have questions. Let's put it this way. And so, I definitely encourage you just to try it out. Thank you for doing the poll. So what is generative AI? So there are many definitions of that, but basically it's an AI system that can generate new content like text, images, audio, videos now. There are many examples of these models. The most popular are the large language models like ChatGPT or Claude by Anthropic, and there are many other ones. Image generators, DALL-E is by OpenAI, Midjourney. I think most of the images in this presentation were created by Midjourney. So it's very easy. I cannot create these images, so it's one good one to use. But once again, all these, we don't know where they get their data from. So that's something to keep in mind. Video generators, Sora, if you look at that, and there are many other ones now. There's another one from China that's amazing that can generate so, really realistic videos. And now there's a really new one called Notebook LM by Google is a podcast generator. You can upload any kind of document in it. First of all, you generate, summaries, and you can ask questions about whatever document you upload to it. And it can generate a podcast with two people, really realistic voices talking about that whatever article or document that you upload to it. I actually uploaded my CV to it and see what they were like, because you put really good stuff in your CV, and he was like talking good things about me for like 10 minutes. It was like almost like a positive psychology therapy. It's great. So some key characteristics of generative AI is trained on vast amounts of data. And so we don't know where they get the data from. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of the individuals, companies are really, or governments are really trying to keep up with that, to set up, regulations and laws and to make it a little bit more transparent. And I was, the ability to understand human-like content, I'll put understand in quotes, actually. It doesn't really understand, but it's seen so much that it can predict that it appears that it can understand. It has a lot of potential, especially for creative and innovative applications. So how does it work? It learns patterns, basically. You've seen enough data, enough relationships between all these things that it recognizes patterns, and it just basically predict the next word or next pixel in the image or sound based on these patterns. And because the data sets are so huge, it becomes really accurate. So for now, we focus on the language models like ChatGPT. It's mostly trained on internet text data, and it learns to generate very coherent and contextually relevant text. But in order to do that, we need to tell it what to generate, and that's called prompting or prompt engineering, depending on, some people use it interchangeably, and I say for us, we just say prompting, basically. Basically, it's crafting effective prompts to guide the AI model's output. Prompt is just your instruction or your whatever you ask it to do. And so it can provide context instructions for the desired content from the AI model. So what's the impact of Gen AI on education, for example, and to an extent, librarianship as well? So a lot of potential benefits. I already mentioned this. You can personalize learning experiences. You can tailor to individual users, students' needs and interests. It can enhance content creation. At my university, we have set up a cohort of faculty who are interested in creating or enhancing open educational resources, and we actually pay them a stipend to use AI to do that, to help us, learn how to use AI to create content, basically, and also improved engagement, whether students, users, anybody, because it could be very interactive and very adaptive. So those are really amazing potentials if we learn how to use that well. But like I said, there are many challenges and considerations. It's not always accurate. It doesn't know when it's accurate. And so the quality of it needs some human oversight and definitely fact checking. So this is where information literacy comes in. We should be teaching our users how to apply information literacy on the outputs of AI. Also, within educational institutions, a lot of concerns about academic integrity and plagiarism. We should be teaching students to critically evaluate and properly attribute AI-generated content. And it's not just students, actually. We should be teaching our faculty as well, because definitely more students are using it than faculty. And so we are behind already. Also, the companies, when they hire new graduates, they want people to be able to do these things. So we should be preparing our students for this AI-driven future, helping them develop skills in prompting, for sure. Also, critical thinking, AI literacy, information literacy, all part of this thing that we should be teaching them. So second, last question. Have you ever paid for a premium version of any of the AI tools like GPT, is it 4 or O1 now, or Claude 3, or Midjourney, or any of those things? Have you ever paid for the subscription version of it? I'll give it like a few seconds. It could be yourself or your employer if you have, used it, basically. All right. So I think most people have already answered. So about 80% people have not used it or paid for it, but 20% of you have. And I'll show you, I'll share with you why I asked this question in a bit. So what is AI literacy? I don't think there is a single definition of it yet. There are many of them out there. They're very similar, actually. And I think basically AI literacy is the ability to understand, engage with, and critically assess AI technologies and their societal, ethical, and practical implications. So it's quite broad. It's not just, using the tools. So I think AI literacy is similar to learning the internet when it first emerged. Just like the internet transformed how we communicate, learn, and work, AI is now reshaping our lives. So by understanding AI, like learning the internet, requires more than just knowing how to use a web browser. It's about understanding a little bit more about the underlying technology, its application, its challenges, its limitations, and its broader societal impact as well. So I think there are some key components to it. One is technical knowledge. We should, grasp the basic concepts like machine learning, algorithms, and data processing, and recognize how AI is used in fields like healthcare, finance, everyday tools like virtual assistants. Also, ethical awareness. Be aware of concerns like bias, privacy, and AI's roles in, for example, job displacement, which could, very much which could happen. Also, understand how to deploy AI ethically with fairness and accountability. Uh, Critical thinking, I've mentioned already, is really important. Assess the AI's outputs, evaluate the reliability and biases in the AI-generated content. Also challenge AI's role, question the use of AI in key areas like governance, education, or justice. Then practical skills. We need to learn how to interact with, these chatbots, large language models, data platforms, other generative AI tools, and also work with AI, adapt to use AI in the workplace along with human skills, and also societal impact. Understand how AI can affect social structures and either reinforce inequality or create new opportunities. And then use AI to innovate, solve problems, and drive process. So I think, AI literacy really matters because it helps individuals make informed decisions, understand the technology's limits and potential, and shape how AI impacts our personal and professional lives. I think it's a foundation for thriving in a kind of future AI embedded world. So what does it mean for us, for faculty, for librarians? That means we need to be developing these new skills and competencies. So there's some of them here. I mean, probably not all of them. From engineering AI literacy, we can, want to design AI enhanced learning experiences, staying updated on the latest advancement in AI and generative AI, guiding our users in critically evaluating and using AI generated content, and also collaborating to create AI informed educational strategies, sharing best practices and lessons learned with each other, with our peers, and developing institutional either policies or guidelines for AI use in our workplace in education. So I did two AI literacy studies among academic library workers. One I did in May last year, so that was 6 months after ChatGPT came out. And then I did a follow-up this summer in June and July, so about 1 year apart. And I learned some really interesting things. I'm not going to go in depth into the key the findings here. I mean, that could be another webinar, but I want to share a couple of things that's really relevant to what we want to talk about today. So over a year, participation in well, let's just say people are participating in training increase the AI literacy level by about 5 to 15%. Now, it could be any training, including something like this, a webinar, a one-shot. So people have taken part in any kind of training or professional development on AI generally have a higher AI literacy level by about 5 to 15% than the people who have not. However, remember I asked you who has used or paid for, have access to the premium versions of AI tools. Those people are 16 to 40%, have 16 to 40% higher AI literacy level than people who do not have access to those. So that's a key. I think that's a really interesting finding. But I mean, it could, there could be many factors about it. But having access to it, that means you're able to get higher quality output. Maybe you pay for it, you say, I want to use it more. And people who pay for it or would actually have access to it are people who are probably more interested in it, so they want to use it more. So I think that indicates that the more hands-on training with a higher quality tool can lead to higher either confidence or knowledge about AI. And since last year, about double of the respondents have paid for premium version of AI tools. So last year was 8%. This year, when I did it in the summer, was 19. So it's very similar to what this audience statistics is. So we have about 21% of this group paying for it. So it's very similar. And more than almost double of the people have participated in some kind of AI training or professional development. It was about 34% last year, and this year it was 66%. So we can see that people are definitely paying more attention to it, and more people are taking action in learning about it. So basically, the survey respondents asked for more training support. They want more hands-on experience with these AI tools, and especially addressing ethical issues of AI. So these are some of the things we need to think about when we develop these AI training programs. And I have used these findings to develop several upskilling programs at my university. So with that, hopefully we understand a little bit more about Gen AI and what AI literacy is, and some of the training or upskilling that we may want to think about. And this is focusing on one part of it, which is prompting. And like I said, with large language models, we have to tell it what to do so that it can do the things we want them to do for us. And I've developed a framework called the CLEAR framework. It's not a formula, and there are many formulas out there to prompt, and many of them are very useful as well. But this is different. I'll explain why. First, we want to understand prompt and outputs. Now, prompts are the instructions of basically given to the generative AI models. They provide context and guidance for the AI to generate relevant content. Now, prompts can be questions, it could be statements, or it can be a combination of both. Outputs are the AI generative responses based on the given prompts. The quality and the relevance of the outputs depend heavily on the clarity and specificity of the prompts. And the relationship between prompts and output is crucial. Well-crafted prompts lead to more accurate and more useful output, and poorly constructed or ambiguous prompts can result in less relevant or coherent output. And there are some nuances in prompt engineering too. So crafting effective prompts from AI is not just about clarity and how specific it is. It also involves understanding the nuances that can significantly influence the output. So I will explore three key aspects of prompting that can make a big difference in the quality and relevance of these AI-generated content. The first one is the order of information in the prompt. It can greatly influence the output. So by strategically placing key details or instructions at the beginning of the prompt can help the AI prioritize its focus. For example, consider the difference between these two prompts. Explain the water cycle, focusing on the role of evaporation, versus focusing on the role of evaporation, explain the water cycle. So in the first prompt, the emphasis is on evaporation comes at the end, which might lead to more general explanation of the water cycle with evaporation as a subtopic. In the second prompt, the focus on evaporation is front and center, guiding the AI to prioritize this aspect in this response. And as I go through these, you recognize this is basically just communications, just like human communication. Yes, because AI learns from all the human text. So second, the level of detail and how specific it is in the prompt directly affects the output. More detailed prompts tend to yield more specific and targeted outputs. For instance, compare the prompt, describe the water cycle, and describe the role of evaporation, condensation, precipitation in the water cycle. So the first prompt is broad and open-ended. So it will probably result in a higher level overview of the water cycle. The second prompt, with a specific focus on three key processes, will guide the AI to generate a more detailed and targeted response. Third, the phrasing of a prompt can significantly impact the style and tone of the output. So using keywords like explain, summarize, or analyze can elicit slightly different types of responses from the AI. For example, consider the difference between explain the pros and cons of renewable energy and persuasively argue for the adoption of renewable energy. So the first prompt is asking for objective, balanced explanation, while the second prompt directs AI to generate a persuasive argument in favor of renewable energy. So by understanding and leveraging these nuances in prompting, we can fine-tune our prompts to get the AI content that is not only accurate, hopefully, and relevant, but also aligned with our specific goals and design outcomes. So whether we're seeking a detailed technical explanation, concise summary, or a persuasive argument, the way we craft the prompts can make a difference. So by investing time and efforts into this process, I think we can unlock the potential of generative AI and harness its power to create content. And I've seen a lot of people who have not done deep dive into prompting and just asking ChatGPT or any other of the tools, very general prompts, and they did not get the output that they desire, and then make the declaration that these things are not very good. Well, I think it makes a difference when we learn how to actually use how to prompt it, and you may change your mind. So let me introduce the clear framework. So crafting effective prompts is essential, right? So there are many nuances to consider. So how can we ensure that our prompts that can consistently hit the mark? This is hopefully where the framework can help. So the clear framework is a structured approach to interact with large language models. It's designed for us to help us navigate the complexities of prompt engineering and generate content that's valuable, impactful. And there are 5 principles of the CLEAR framework. So what do they stand for? So each letter represents a key principle. C stands for concise. This principle reminds us to keep our prompts clear and to the point, avoid unnecessary details or ambiguity that could confuse the AI. L stands for logical. By structuring our prompts in a logical and coherent manner, we can guide the AI to generate responses that are well organized and easy to follow. E stands for explicit. Being specific and detailed in our instructions help the AI understand exactly what we're looking for and generate content that meets our needs. A stands for adaptive. This principle encourages us to iteratively refine our prompts based on the output. So adapting approach to achieve the best possible results. A lot of people expect, one prompt and you get the results that you want. It rarely happens that way. You really have to be adaptive and then evaluate the output and then make adjustment to get exactly what you want. And R stands for reflective. By critically evaluating the AI that generated content and reflecting on the effectiveness of our strategy and our prompts, we can continuously improve our prompting skills. So I would say, and I'm hoping that the CLEAR framework promotes critical thinking and intentionality when interacting with these large language models. So rather than passively accepting AI-generated content, this approach encourages us to actively engage with the technology, critically evaluating its outputs, and reflecting on how we can refine our prompts to achieve better results. Ultimately, I think the CLEAR framework is a mindset shift in how we approach generative AI. We're moving beyond just using it as a tool, but start actively collaborating with it to create content. So let's go in depth into each one of those principles. So conciseness in prompt engineering means communicating with AI in a clear, articulate, and direct manner. This practice trains our users to cut through all the unnecessary details and focus on what is essential. It's not just about being brief or short, it's about being effectively articulate. So this skill is invaluable in any form of communication, not just with AI. It's about clarity of purpose and providing all essential details. And a concise, succinct, clear prompt allows ChatGPT to focus on the essential aspects of your instruction, leading to more direct and relevant responses. And that includes all the details that you need. And logical prompts require structured thinking. They help in constructing coherent and responses that address specific needs. For example, a prompt like analyze the impact of climate change on the migration patterns of humpback whales in the North Atlantic Ocean from 2000 to 2020, focusing on changes in sea temperatures and food availability, is a model of logical thinking because it is precise in the subject, scope, geographical boundaries, time frame, key factors. So it's making a very powerful tool to extract relevant information. So why be logical? It just facilitates better comprehension by the AI. Even though AI is really good at understanding even random thoughts, but helping it this way can make it even more effective. A prompt that follows a logical progression in this information makes it easier for these models to understand the context and maintain coherence in these responses. And this usually results in outputs that are relevant and also exhibit a clear and understandable structure, mirroring the logical flow of the prompt itself. So some examples. So for example, if you put it in this situation, a student in the early stages of a research project on the topic of renewable energy is using, let's say, ChatGPT as a tool to brainstorm and gather initial information. And the task is to identify recent advancements in this topic, in the renewable energy technologies and the potential for large-scale implementation. So the student's not using ChatGPT to write the assignment, but to brainstorm and gather some initial kind of data. So a initial prompt is not very concise or logical. So I'm doing a project on renewable energy and I need some ideas. Can you tell me about all kinds of renewable energy stuff that's been happening recently? It is actually fine to do that way, but it's not concise or logical. So it may not give you exactly what you want. A possible kind of, AI response is that renewable energy encompasses a broad range of technologies like solar, wind, hydroelectric, biomass. These technologies have been evolving over the years with various advancements. So the feedback I'll give this is the prompt is not concise nor logical. It's kind of vague, all kinds of renewable energy stuff, and lacks specificity about the student's research focus. So the response is a little bit too broad and does not target the student's need for recent and innovative technologies. So a improved prompt with adding being concise and logical is list innovative renewable energy technologies developed in the last 5 years with potential for large-scale implementation. So with this, then a AI response would likely to be, floating solar panels and enhanced geothermal systems, high efficiency perovskite solar cells, these things. So this is more relevant to what the student was looking for, right? All right. Explicit. That's the third principle. So being explicit in prompts is about how specific you are, really. It involves clearly defining what information is needed, how it should be presented. So this clarity is crucial because AI, while very sophisticated, cannot read your mind. It cannot really infer unstated details or intentions. So this principle teaches users to think critically about their information needs and be able to articulate them precisely. And being explicit in prompts is crucial for obtaining more precise and useful responses. And it's important to note that effective prompting can involve both questions and directives, each serving slightly different purposes, but when to use which type of prompt. So directive prompts often lead to more targeted and specific responses, and questions can be useful for exploring broader topics or when seeking a range of perspectives. So the key to explicit communication is not just the format of the prompt, it can be questions or directive, but it's clarity and precision in conveying exactly what you're looking for. So let's dig into, I'll say, 5 key strategies for writing explicit prompts. One is to define your needs clearly. Understand the exact information type of responses you seek from Gen AI. Clear objectives result in more accurate responses. You want to incorporate details and context, include relevant details and in your prompt. This helps large language models in understanding the scope and specifics of your request. Use direct and unambiguous language. Avoid using vague language. Be direct, straightforward in your prompts to reduce the chances of misinterpretation. You can specify output format if you have a preference for how you want the information presented. Like, give me a list, give me a summary, give me a detailed explanation, give the data to me in the table form, so you can include this in your prompt. Set clear boundaries and limitations. If there are specific areas you want to avoid or focus on, make this clear in your prompt. That can save a lot of time as well. So some examples. If you, let's say, define your needs clearly, can you tell me about climate change versus explain the main causes and effects of climate change since 20th century, right? Incorporate details in context. You can say, look at these 2 examples, describe the fall of the Berlin Wall, or versus describe the impact of the fall of the Berlin Wall on European politics. use direct and unambiguous language. What are some things about space exploration versus list all the major milestones in space exploration from this time period? You want to specify output format. Tell me about photosynthesis versus provide bullet point summary of the photosynthesis process. Set clear boundaries and limitations. How can we reduce carbon emissions versus suggest 3 technological innovations developed in the last decade to reduce carbon emissions, excluding solar energy. Right? Adaptability in prompt engineering means being responsive to the AI's feedback and adjust. So this aspect of the framework highlights the dynamic nature of AI interaction. So we need to continuously learn and make adjustments. So encourages users to be flexible and innovative. The emphasis is on the ongoing process of evaluating and refining prompts based on the AI's responses. We saw some of the early examples. We can, some of the less useful prompts, you can look at the output and then make adjustment to make it into the prompts that will give you the output that you're seeking. So one is continuous evaluation. This approach emphasizes the importance of analyzing the output to your prompt. It's about understanding what worked, what didn't, and why you can use it more effectively in the future. Refinement techniques focus on adjusting your prompts based on the AI's feedback to make them more effective. And active engagement involves consistently interacting with the outputs to ensure that they meet your needs. Some examples, if you look at continuous evaluation, if you ask ChatGPT, for example, explain quantum computing, you evaluate the response it gives you, and then you identify that you need a more simplified explanation because I don't understand quantum computing. So you can ask it, explain quantum computing in simple terms and make the targeted prompt provides a more clearer, more accessible response. Refinement techniques, example, when a prompt about current trends in renewable energy results in a very broad overview, you want more specific information, and then you can refine the prompt to describe the latest trend in solar energy. Right? Active engagement, if a response to a history query, what caused World War II is incomplete and stuff, accepting or decide that ChatGPT is not useful, you probe further and ask more targeted follow-up questions. So you can ask, can you provide more deeper details on the specific events leading up to World War II, for example? So remember, when using these LLM tools, you play a key role in enhancing the output quality. So the role is ongoing, involves constant learning and adaptation. So you want to keep practicing writing prompts and asking follow-ups. Finally, reflective. When it comes to interacting with AI, being reflective is just as important as being adaptive. So while adaptive prompting focuses on refining individual interactions, reflective prompting is about the long-term analysis and learning from each interaction with AI. And it's a practice that involves more than just passively receiving information. It is an active engagement with the output, seeking to understand its strengths and weaknesses, limitations, and how it aligns with your needs. So one key aspect of reflective prompting is documenting your observations. Tracking your interaction with AI over time, you can gain really valuable insights. Let me go back here. So to cultivate the skill of reflective prompting, there are several key practices you can engage in. One is exercise reflective analysis. After receiving responses, interaction from ChatGPT or another tool, take a moment to critically assess its relevancies, accuracies, completeness, and then you can help identify improvement areas, note down aspects of the AI's response that could be enhanced. Was the information too general, too detailed? Did it miss a lot of crucial points you were interested in? So by pinpointing these areas, you can start to formulate strategies. And then apply these insights to refine your next interactions. Use your observation to modify your communication with AI. If the initial response was too broad, try adding more specific details, right? So things like that. Remember, reflective prompting is an iterative process. Each interaction with an AI model can be an opportunity to learn and improve, and pay attention to how changes in your strategies affect the AI's output. And finally, don't keep your learnings to yourself. Share your findings and insights with peers. I think everybody right now is still learning. Engage in dialogue about your experiences and can really provide fresh perspectives. So applying clear framework in kind of our librarianship or educational context, I think it can enhance critical thinking skills. We can guide students in evaluating the AI outputs, questions assumptions, analyze arguments. Also, it's a way, probably have, observed by now, this is about communications. So it can enhance our users, our own communication skills, teach them to craft very clear, concise, logical prompts, and articulate their thoughts. Also, it's a way to formulate problems. It's the first step in learning how to solve something, right? You have to be able to be able to articulate the problem. And also, it can enhance creativity as well. AI has pretty much all the knowledge, in the world. It's up to us to be imaginative and creative in getting the output that can help us. And evaluation skills, that's I think our librarian skills can come in here to help us and other people. How do we critically evaluate the output, make sure they're accurate? And like information literacy skill is essential in doing that. So we should be leveraging AI to promote information literacy. So these are the 5 principles: concise, logical, explicit, adaptive, reflective. You will have this PDF. So this is a good one-pager to see what they are. So just some recap of key takeaways. Generative AI has significant potential to transform education and librarianship. I would say personalized learning, enhanced content creation, improved engagement, which means that faculty and librarians, we need to develop new skills and competencies: prompting and AI literacy, content creation, evaluation, think about instructional design with using generative AI, and definitely ethical, responsible AI use. This is, is changing, is that we need to keep up with it. The clear framework hopefully can help you create effective prompts, think about the 5 principles, and improve the quality of AI-generated content. And I think the more important thing is I think it promotes critical thinking and intentionality when communicating with AI. Here are some resources that once you have the PDF, you can kind of check out a lot of the podcast webinars I've done, publications, and I've designed some courses on this as well. And some next steps: I'm president of ACRL. We have set up a AI competencies task force to develop a set of the most basic and essential AI competencies for library workers, basically. And we have just got approval to set up a ACRL AI discussion group. You don't need to be an ALA member. You don't need to be an ACRL member. Anybody can join that discussion group. So pay attention to the news release once it's open for joining. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I share a lot of updates, including these ACRL news and other things. If you're on LinkedIn, feel free to follow me, join me, connect with me. And I get a lot of updated news from LinkedIn now on AI news. So definitely a good platform. Let me put it in the link as well. So here's my LinkedIn, and also one of my articles on the CLEAR framework. So feel free to check that out. Now I'm happy to answer any questions or any kind of thoughts you have. Oh,
Thank
got
you
a
so
lot of
much.
questions.
Okay.
All right, go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lowe. This was a wonderful presentation. I know I particularly like the part about when you give your examples, like what you meant by concise, what you meant by explicit. We do have a couple questions, so hopefully we can get through at least a couple of these. Henry asked, how do you engineer a clear prompt so that when it's embedded in a solution and the next version of the LLM gives a bogus answer, the user was still able to understand and correct the problem?
Let me see if I understand the question. How the engineering is so embedded in the solution and the next version of the LLM. I am not sure I understand the question, to be honest. Maybe Henry can have elaborate a little bit. So, but I can talk about, how we can kind of use the clear framework to look at, perhaps inaccurate or hallucinated answers. So the first three parts of it is creating prompts, crafting the prompt. So hopefully you can generate the content you want, but it may not always be accurate, right? So that's when the A and the R comes into play. With the adaptive is that, and the reflective is that you want to look at it in a kind of, step back a little bit and apply other skill set like information literacy to verify some of those. So one thing I did not talk about is that the use of these AI generated output, that's part of the ethical, I think, responsible use of it, is that whatever you can use AI tools just like we use Wikipedia, we use the internet, we get data from wherever. But when you put your name on something, you are accountable for the accuracy of it. So I would not even blame AI. I would put the responsibility on the user who is going to use the output from anything. It could be, like I said, it could be the internet, it could be any kind of database, article, and AI. So it is part of our job, responsibility to verify all the content is actually correct. So I think that's how I'll answer that question is that, yeah, you use the first three parts of the principles to create, hopefully effective prompts, and then being adaptive and reflective to make sure that it is, the data you want to use for whatever purpose it is for.
Awesome. And then it looks like Marge asked, AI is trained on negative and positive bias since it's accessed on the open web. The current chat models are not returning biased or racist statements as they are programmed not to, but isn't there still bias to be aware of? What are the ways we can instruct students and patrons to be aware of bias as they use AI?
That's a good question because the reason, so yes, first of all, AI is trained on all these data that have both positive and negative biases, and we don't know what they are actually. We don't know what data they have used. When you notice that some of the AI models are not returning bias or racist statements, it's because of some of the prompt engineering, the back end that they fine tune or they put guardrails into it. So that is both a good thing and also a issue because we don't know how they are fine-tuning it. And that's why it's really important for regulations to catch up to the technology, to ask for more transparency. Without knowing how they fine-tune it, we really don't know how they are quote unquote correct these biases. That means we don't know how we can instruct students and patrons, unless we just ask them, hey, whatever this output, go verify it using, let's say, library databases or doing library research to verify some of these things. So I think transparency is really, really important. It's a thing that we should all be advocating for. And we have seen overcorrection as well. We have seen some news where Google, I think, tried to negate some of these biases, but they went overboard. So when you ask for an image of the founding fathers of the US, and they put in, a lot of people that are African Americans or Asian Americans that, because they just overcorrected without having the nuance there. So eventually, I think it will become better. But at this point, we don't know how they're doing it. So that is an issue.
And I think we have one more time for a quick question. Someone asked if you could please reference the source for the AI definition that you used.
Oh, the source is me. That's my definition. Oh yeah. Feel free to use it.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Dr. Lowe. This has been a wonderful session. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, so I'm going to hand it back over to Brandon to finish wrapping everything up. But thank you, everyone.
Thanks for watching. This video was produced by the network of the National Library of Medicine. Select the circular channel icon to subscribe to our channel, or select a video thumbnail to watch another video from the channel.